Ladies and gentlemen, AEW Dynamite review. We're about to hop right on into this thing. If you're a fan of wrestling, leave a thumbs up on this YouTube video. Fan of AEW, fan of whatever wrestling fan, leave a thumbs up on this YouTube video. So, we're going to hop right on into this thing. I'm not going to waste any of your time. First up, we had the return of Jon Moxley coming out. Fans went crazy. And Jon Moxley, man, he is, I said this on Twitter last night, he has that thing when it comes to promos. I could be looking at my phone, and when Jon Moxley grabs that mic and he talks, I put down my phone, I look up because I have to see what this guy is going to, or I have to hear what this guy is going to say. I have to see it. And he was every bit of that last night. Talked about how he fought off his demons and how nobody's perfect. It was an outstanding promo where he talked about his scars, and he is here and he is out for blood. So I'm looking forward to this Jon Moxley run. Jon Moxley had started to feel like the forgotten guy. Adam Cole came in, Bryan Danielson came in, and Moxley started to feel like the forgotten guy, and he goes out and he comes back, and I cannot wait to see where he goes and where this story goes with Jon Moxley. I'm so glad to have him back. So as we move on, we had MJF, quote unquote, apologizing to Wardlow, and I gotta say, Wardlow is on the Batista path where he takes out Triple H, he becomes a big star, but we are not there yet. And for me, we're not going to be there with MJF and Wardlow for a very long time. MJF has to have a title run before we get to Wardlow becoming that guy, taking out MJF, and being the star that we all know he's going to be, because the crowd is just begging for the face turn right here, right now. So we'll see how that plays out down the line. Next up, we had Adam Cole, Britt Baker versus Kris Statlander and Orange Cassidy. This match was, the tempo was very off in this match, and it did not help that we have the rules of the matchup that the women can only fight the women, the men can only fight the men. And when someone tags in, someone has to just get out of the ring. That throws off the tempo automatically. I will say though, when Kris Statlander got in that ring with Adam Cole, I was like, ooh, Kris Statlander would handle Adam Cole. That's just my take. That's just my take on the situation. Nevertheless, we had a moment in the match where Statlander and Orange Cassidy was on the apron, and it was just a awkward tempo in this match throughout the whole match, and they took forever to get their double team move off. And we got down to the end. Britt Baker goes through the table. Adam Cole's livid. He gets the win. It took forever for the referee to get back into the ring. I was not a fan of this matchup. Just on my opinion alone, it's just the tempo was very off in this matchup. As it pertains to the future, look, man, Adam Cole, I said this on Twitter, it's high past time for Adam Cole to get into an actual feud. Like this whole thing with Orange Cassidy, I'm not feeling it at all, man. And this really is a super clique versus best friends feud. It just so happens that Adam Cole got paired with Orange Cassidy in the feud. So I know, man. And then we're gonna have a lights out match with Adam Cole and Orange Cassidy. And Orange Cassidy, Adam Cole, that is nowhere near the heat in this feud to warrant a lights out match. Like Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, there was legitimate heat in that feud that warranted a lights out matchup. Not Orange Cassidy and Adam Cole. Like, no, I'm not feeling that at all. Moving on, we had Chris Jericho backstage, and Santana and Ortiz, thank you, oh Lord. They are finally going at Chris Jericho, And they said maybe next week they will prove that they don't need Chris Jericho. And you know what? I have said it from the beginning. The parts of the inner circle are better than the whole. Like, they are better off alone than they are being in the inner circle. Everyone except for Jake Hager. That has been my take. It has been my take that Santana and Ortiz never needed the inner circle. It has been my take that they have gone downhill since joining the inner circle. And that was years ago. Man, Santana and Ortiz, when they debuted in AEW, they were on top of the world. They jumped out of those president masks and the crowd went wild. And they've gone downhill ever since. Can't even get a title shot, for goodness sake. So I am pulling for the inner circle to implode, or at the very least for Santana and Ortiz to get away. Because these guys are amongst the top tag teams in all of the world. They should have been AEW World or AEW Tag Team Champions by now, but they have not. And to me, they need to disband from the inner circle to do so. Moving on, we'll see how that plays out. Moving on, we had CM Punk versus Shawn Spears. And I'm looking at this match, and you look at Shawn Spears, every time he's in the ring, man, he delivers. You look at that match he had with Sammy Guevara. Tremendous matchup. I don't remember if that was for the TNT title or not. I cannot remember, but they had an awesome matchup. So I'm looking at Shawn Spears versus CM Punk. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a banger, and it's over in 12 seconds. Like, what are we doing? Man, Shawn Spears from NXT versus Shawn Spears now is just astounding to me, man. When he debuted for AEW, I was like, yes, he's going to get his opportunity. He's going to flourish. And it has not happened. He lost that match to Cody Rhodes, and it has been downhill ever since. So, CM Punk gets the victory. MJF tries to jump in. Then he bails out. And the build to CM Punk and MJF continues. I just thought that we could have gotten an exciting matchup with Punk and Shawn Spears. That wasn't the case. We got the squash, and it is what it is, I guess. We'll see what goes on with Shawn Spears, but jeez, man. 12 seconds. What a squash. After that, we had Billy Gunn and Christian Cage. Billy Gunn said his sons have earned a title shot. And this wound up in a beatdown of the Guns of Christian Cage. And you know what, man? Christian Cage. All he is a manager now? Like, Christian Cage. They had Christian Cage versus Adam Cole on a silver platter. And for whatever reason, they just did not go with it. I don't understand why. Now both of those guys are in need of a serious feud. And like, Christian is managing the Jurassic Express. He's all but taking Marco Stunt's place. And I just think that they could be doing much more with Christian than they are currently doing. Man, the guy is a great in-ring general, and like, I want to see him in more feuds. Like, I don't want to see him being a manager. That's just me. It's not that I hate the partnership with the Jurassic Express. It's just that I would like to be seeing Christian Cage do more. Speaking of doing a lot, Cody Rhodes came out and brought in the ring a big ladder with him, and he got to talking about CM Punk, and the crowd is all over him, and they're telling him to shut up. I'm putting that lightly, and they're just not having it. So we went down this road. Cody Rhodes talked about the pipe bomb, and they got a little bit of a pop out of the crowd, and then he just started to go into left field. He just started bringing up random things left and right. Jay Lethal. Then he brought up Gunther, who was Walter. And it's like he's bringing up random things. He talked about how he started the Forbidden Door. And then he jumped to Red Dragon. And then he jumped to Jay Lethal. Like, what does Jay Lethal have to do with this? And at the very end of the promo, then he talked about the interim TNT title for like 20 seconds. And let's do a ladder match, Sammy Guevara. And that was the end of the promo. Now, Cody Rhodes had great delivery in this promo, but the problem that I have is that it was pretty much universally accepted as, oh man, Cody did that, man. What exactly did he do? Like, when you have a match coming up, Cody Rhodes versus Sammy Guevara, we're going to unify the TNT Championship. That is supposed to be the focus of the promo. Like, he had like 10 talking points, and the TNT Championship versus Sammy Guevara was like the 9th most important thing there. So what exactly did he do? He said a bunch of insider buzzwords, and that got people to pop. So that's what we're doing now. Any WWE reference we're gonna pop for when AEW wrestlers bring it up. Like, at this point, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody came out next week and said Bastion Booger, and everybody just popped for it. Oh, it's a WWE reference. Like, so what? What exactly did he do? Like, he talked about a whole bunch of things to get the people to stop booing, and then at the very end, it's like, oh yeah, by the way, we have a TNT Championship match coming up, and it's against Sammy Guevara. Oh, bye. That's it. Like, no, the delivery was good, but give me more about Sammy Guevara. I don't care about that other stuff he was talking about. Like, no, I don't care. That's just me, man. He was all over the place. And then he finally got to the TNT Championship ladder match. That's just me. That's how I feel about the situation. Nevertheless, we move on. And Jade Cargill has issued an open challenge for the TBS Championship. Anna Jay accepts, and we're going to get Anna Jay versus Jade Cargill on Rampage this Friday. And I got to say, I have a hard time getting interested in Rampage matches that are set up, and this happens a lot of the time for the women if you pay attention. I have a hard time getting interested in Rampage matches that get set up with 20-second backstage segments on Dynamite. Like, if you just, within 20 or 30 seconds, here, we're going to have this matchup, and guess what? It's going to happen in 2 days. Like, I can't get excited about this. And also, this being Jade Cargill's very first title defense. It's set up within 30 seconds in a backstage promo. Like, no, I'm not excited for it. Not because I don't like Jade Cargill, because I do. Not because I don't like Anna Jay, because I do. It's the fact that you set it up with a 20-second backstage promo, and it's like, okay, how am I supposed to get excited about that? Like, they couldn't even get inside the ring and set this up. Like, no, man, I'm not excited for it. I'll watch it because I love both ladies. I hope that they get a fair amount of time to have a great matchup that these ladies can put on. We'll see how it goes, but just give me something, man. Don't set it up with a 20-second backstage segment and the match is happening in 2 days. That's just my take on the situation. Moving on. Kings of Blackthorn versus Varsity Blondes. Brody King, Aleister Black versus the Varsity Blondes. This was a glorified squash matchup. Brody, Malachi Black, picks up the victory after the match. We get Pac. He pops up on the screen, and he is ready to take on Malachi Black. Look, man, that is gonna bang. It's gonna bang, and we have a decent storyline behind it that I'm very excited about. And hey, keep giving me more. I cannot wait to see Pac versus Malachi Black. It's gonna be awesome. Moving on, we had Roppongi Vice, and they will be taking on the Young Bucks on Rampage. I told you how I feel about this feud. Best friends versus the Super Clique. It has been one-sided, and I just don't see any reason to get excited about this matchup. At the least, we are going to get a really good matchup. I'll give them that. The Young Bucks are going to win. So this whole best friends versus Super Clique feud has been one-sided, and it really needs to end. When they get done with this matchup, and when we get done with Orange Cassidy versus Adam Cole, that needs to be it. I've had enough with this feud. Moving on. Should still be an awesome matchup, though. I'll give them that. Lance Archer versus Frankie Kazarian. And we have Dan Lambert in Lance Archer's corner. This was a darn near 50-50 matchup. And first and foremost, I don't know where Frankie Kazarian, the Elite Hunter, what happened to that? I would have to question what was the point of that whole gimmick. Like I guess it's over with now. So that's done for. We have Lance Archer, who picks up the win in what was essentially a 50-50 matchup. Lance Archer should not be going 50-50 with Frankie Kazarian. At most, this was the one that should have been a squash, and a CM Punk Shawn Spears one, which should have been the one that was going 11-12 minutes with CM Punk getting the victory. That's my take. Because now you have Lance Archer with Dan Lambert, and I was 10 times more excited for this matchup when we strictly had Lance Archer versus Hangman Page. And it looked like Dan Lambert was out of the picture. But why is Dan Lambert with Lance Archer again? What are we doing here? Lance Archer can talk for himself. And I know they're keeping Jake Roberts away, which is fine, which is in these times are smart. So just have Lance Archer be Lance Archer and have him face off with Hangman Page, because Dan Lambert being with Lance Archer, I just don't buy it. He barely fits with Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky, but he's off doing that. Let him do that. Let Lance Archer be off on his own. Another thing is this. AEW has set the course that you don't just walk in and get a title shot. It's kind of like when Bryan Danielson was looking for a championship shot. I think it was against Hangman Page, and he was like, no, you got to earn your way there. And Bryan Danielson earned his way there. So I would like to see Lance Archer do something outside of having a 50-50 match with Frankie Kazarian to earn his way to the championship, as opposed to just getting a title shot. We'll see if they go down that storyline and set that up like that. But nevertheless, Hangman Page comes out, takes out, gets into it with Lance Archer, and look, we'll see, man. We'll see. This should be a fantastic matchup, and look, we'll see. We'll see. I just do not like the addition of Dan Lambert. That's just me, man. Moving on, we had Layla Hirsch. She broke up a Red Velvet Kris Statlander interview, and she talked about her loss, or their loss on Friday. And this ends up in a brawl, and poor Red Velvet, man. Like, she was on her way, and then they stuck her as the quote-unquote heel in the matchup with Britt Baker in Pittsburgh, and Red Velvet has never recovered. Layla Hirsch, Kris Statlander, we'll see how this all turns out. But, man, Red Velvet, like she has, I don't want to say fallen off of the face of AEW, but she has fallen from where she was at previous heights. That's just my take on the situation. Moving on, Serena Deeb versus Sky Blue. This was a glorified squash matchup, which it should have been. Serena Deeb picks up the victory. So moving on from that, we had Andrade, And he is now with the Hardy Family Office, HFO. What are we doing, man? Like, is this the best that AEW has for Andrade, future world champion? Like, or that has future world champion material? Like, the volume was loud when WWE was screwing up Andrade. It was like Andrade could be doing so much more. And the volume is not loud. The same energy is not being kept now that Andrade is in AEW, and he is not being used to his potential. Like, what has Andrade done since debuting in AEW that is of note? From a storyline perspective, not don't hand me a match where Andrade and so had a tremendous match. No, that's on Andrade's ability. Like, what has AEW done from a storyline perspective that has put Andrade into a position to succeed? I haven't seen anything. The only thing that's really happened from a storyline perspective is that they switched this managers a bunch of times. Like, that's the only memorable thing that I can remember from a storyline perspective. And outside of that, like, not a whole lot, man. I mean, we had that brief alliance with Aleister Black. That's over with. Like, so what are we doing here? Andrade has not been in a position to succeed in AEW. Now he's with the Hardy Family Office. That whole thing needs to be broken up because Private Party needs to be freed. That's just my take on the situation. But you know what? As they say, let it play out. You know what? I'll let it play out. But all the way from Andrade's debut, all the way up until now, this has been lackluster, and I have been very disappointed with the way that AEW has used their lack of use of Andrade. The only thing, I'll give him this, the way he calls Darby Allin that little kid that works for Sting, it is outstanding. That's outstanding. Tremendous. But we'll see, man. Andrade deserves better. That's just me. Moving on. The Acclaim versus Darby Allin and Sting. Darby Allin goes out. This turns into a handicap matchup. I'm thinking, oh man, watch out. This Sting cannot beat the Acclaimed 1-on-2. So Darby comes back. Darby Allin and Sting gets the win. A decent match at best. It's really fun seeing Sting at this age still be able to do it. Like, I was at 5 years old watching wrestling. I'm now 34 years old. The first thing I remember seeing in wrestling was Sting. That's my favorite. Sting is still doing it. I'm at 34. Sting's still out there. Stinger splashing folks. So that's always fun to see. But the Acclaim, like, they lose to Sting and Darby Allin, and like, shouldn't now Darby Allin and Sting be somewhere around the number one contendership for the tag titles? Like, I don't know where they're gonna go with that. The Acclaim was up there in the rankings. Now they lose to Darby Allin and Sting. I don't know where they go, but we'll see how it plays out. Overall, this episode of Dynamite, this was one where, strangely, I kept looking at my phone to see what time it was. And I know a good episode of Dynamite, anytime it's a good episode of Dynamite, I never look at my phone to see the time. I just so happen to look at my phone a lot. And the main event is coming on, and it's like, oh man, this show flew by. And this show did not fly by. So yeah, I did not feel this episode of Dynamite was all that great to me. I'm not gonna say that I didn't like it, but I've seen much better from AEW as it pertains to offerings of Dynamite. Let me know what you think. AEW, anything of the sort. Cody Rhodes, Sting, Darby Allin in the Acclaim. Let me know what you think in the YouTube comments or on Twitter at 2SweetPod or at Corey B Elite.